get questions a lot about what it really looks like, or how do you really use gratitude as a healing practice. If you've been following me for a while, you know that I use gratitude and I talk about gratitude a lot, but I know that it can be really hard to really get a sense of how it actually works and how do you connect with gratitude when you're in a place of significant struggle. So today I'm going to share with you some of those pieces, and I'm also going to share a little bit about what gratitude is not, because I think that that might be equally as important. So if you're new to me, welcome. I'm glad that you're here. Make sure you subscribe and click the little bell for notifications. If you've been around for a while, thank you so much for being a part of the community. So I think I'm going to start with what gratitude is not, to kind of just lay a foundation, because there's a lot out there about gratitude and how to connect to gratitude and the importance of gratitude. But from a lot of it that I've seen and what people have shared with me is that it feels kind of either or. Either you feel grateful, which is the good thing to do, or you're in a place of struggle. And from my perspective, so I'm just one person, but gratitude played a really important role in my own healing. Gratitude is not about bypassing, denying any struggle that is there. And I think that that is really important, because a lot of gratitude discussions out there are finding the gratitude in the bad stuff. And in theory, I think there can be some benefit when done very consciously. But generally speaking, especially the way that it's talked about, like on social media and stuff, I think can actually be incredibly harming. Like when somebody says about somebody who's experienced childhood trauma, oh, but look at how strong you are. Look how resilient you are. You should be grateful. No, I do not believe that. I do not believe that we need to find gratitude in our trauma. I actually think that for the most part, that can be incredibly damaging, dismissive, and create a barrier to healing. So gratitude is not about finding the good in the bad, generally speaking, especially not things related to trauma or traumatic loss. Really never is it about that. Now, having said that, can you be grateful for something that happens somehow connected to something bad? So for example, if you are in a long-term committed relationship and something happens, for example, somebody cheats on you and the relationship ends, that can feel, especially if you're a trauma survivor, that can feel incredibly overwhelming and impactful and can be really difficult to get through. So I would never encourage somebody to find gratitude in that, like, oh, be grateful that you're not still with him, without also doing some other things. But if you have moved on from that relationship and you realize that probably wasn't a great relationship anyway, you realize that you're happier not being with that person, maybe you've even begun a new relationship, you can be grateful that the relationship ended without having to be grateful that you were cheated on. So I hope that that kind of makes sense. But a lot of people, what I hear people talk about often is, well, find gratitude in being cheated on because now here you are. No, the bad thing that happened, you don't have to be grateful for, but you can accept it and you can be grateful that it ended so that you can move on with your life. Another thing that trauma survivors, childhood trauma survivors, build as a strength as a result of trauma often is incredible empathy. And being empathetic is a beautiful strength. But we don't have to be grateful for being abused to have that strength. Because we can build that among other strengths and qualities without having to have experienced trauma. But if you say that you're grateful, or if you think that you have to work towards being grateful for the trauma, there's often a disconnect. Because really, who's grateful for their trauma? Now, people say that often, but it's because they like the outcome. And being grateful for the trauma is a way to bypass having to deal with the pain that it caused. Another thing that comes up for my community is, even if there are things that they can identify feeling grateful for, they have difficulty really feeling a sense of gratitude, or they have difficulty identifying what they can feel grateful for. And that's normal, and that's part of the reason why gratitude is a practice. Because in all reality, for many people watching my videos, there's a lot that you're dealing with. You might be in a really, really difficult place. You may not have much support at all in your life, if any. You may feel like your world is closing in around you. Well, it's natural that you're going to have a hard time feeling a sense of gratitude, even if you can find something that you can be grateful for. That's okay. Don't beat yourself up about that. It's a practice, and it's a process. What eventually can happen is that you can honor whatever is present for you, and also find other things that maybe you're grateful for. So not necessarily related to that, but something else, like you're having a really bad day, or a bad week, but the sun is finally shining after a week of storms. Now that isn't going to change your life, right? But if you can feel in your body a warmth that comes from that, a sense of appreciation for being able to see the blue sky or to feel the sun on your skin, if that feels good to you in any way, then you can connect to that and still acknowledge that things are really difficult. And that is how I use gratitude as a healing practice. It's about honoring whatever is present, honoring the pain that comes when you're cheated on, and also potentially feeling grateful that you don't feel like you're walking on eggshells all the time, or you don't feel like you're crazy because you are questioning everything, but that person's telling you that it's all in your head. So you can still feel the pain of that, and also a sense of appreciation for the freedom or the ease that comes in not having to deal with that all the time. So it really is kind of finding the capacity, connecting to the capacity, because it exists within you. We just tend to be very all or nothing in our experience, really societally, no matter what your history is. We tend to be very absolute. It's either yes or no, black and white. It's either good or bad. So much of healing is really about learning to recognize that we have the capacity to hold both. So a gratitude practice then is about identifying things that you can feel, that you can connect to a felt sense of appreciation for. And what I mean by a felt sense is literally the feeling in your body of ease, lightness, connection, joy, something that made you smile, a moment of feeling connected or not alone, right? When you experience those things, there's something that happens in your body. You may not be aware that it's happening, but it's there, that moment of lightness. And practicing gratitude is about learning to connect to those physiological experiences, what it feels like in your body. Like maybe your heart flutters a little bit, or maybe you feel this warmth in your chest. Maybe you feel almost like you've been hugged in the energy of something. If those moments feel good, then reminding yourself of that as a practice of gratitude, what that felt like in your body, the hope that it might have given you, the connection, the pride. Like, there are so many different ways that this can show up, but it's about connecting to that moment in time. And in all reality, for most people, it is the small, seemingly inconsequential moments that can make the biggest difference, because we can experience those kinds of things on a pretty regular basis. Of course, there can be big things that you feel really grateful for and are, profoundly changed by. And of course, being grateful for that can be important and good. But in all reality, it's the everyday kinds of things that we can look to, like a nice day outside, or maybe it's been really hot and it's raining and you enjoy the rain. That's something you can be grateful for. And what does that feel like in your body? When you feel like you're not alone in the world, when somebody gets it, when somebody asks you how you are and they really want to know, what does that feel like in your body? So the practice of gratitude is not about bypassing or denying what is real and present for you, but it's about also creating an opportunity to see what you can connect to that feels good. And health might be something that you can connect to. And for people that have like chronic illness or chronic pain, that can be really challenging. And there are going to be days that that's not the place to go to for gratitude. But there might be a day that you feel a little bit better. Or maybe you've lost some aspect of mobility, but you might feel grateful for the mobility that you do have. So again, not glossing over the fact that you don't have the mobility that you've lost, honoring that, but then also feeling in your body the ease that comes from the mobility that you do have. Again, it's about being able to hold both. And anytime that you've experienced something really bad, difficult, hurtful, painful, generally speaking, I'm never going to ask somebody to find a way to create space to find an aspect of gratitude about that. So let's say you're in a car accident and you are immobile for a while. I would never ask somebody to identify the things that they can still do as a form of gratitude. Because right now, when you're in the midst of it, you're coming to terms with this, you're dealing with the trauma of it. There's a lot there. And there's nothing wrong with being able to feel gratitude, like being grateful that you're alive. There's nothing wrong with that. But as a mentor, I would not necessarily try to get somebody there, because it's important to be where you are and to deal with the reality of whatever that is, that means what it means for you. Like being cheated on. Like, I would never suggest to somebody in that moment, well, just imagine the freedom you're going to have. Or imagine you're not going to have to put up with that anymore. In that moment, there's a lot of pain that needs to be acknowledged and felt and moved through. But then you get to a place where you can create the opportunity to feel and experience both. Like the car accident, after a period of time, and maybe it's a few days, maybe it's a couple of weeks, but you might get to a point where you've been able to kind of process what's going on and what's happened, and then maybe you can actually feel a huge sense of gratitude that you're okay, that it wasn't more serious. And that's the important thing, is that you feel it, that it feels real and genuine to you. That there's something happening internally when you think about that, when you reconnect, when you replay it in your mind. You remember what that felt like, and it felt positive in some way. So I'd like to encourage you to maybe try practicing gratitude. Maybe get a journal and every day identify at least 3 things that you can be grateful for. And for me, when I was in the beginning of it, and even now, there are times I wrote the same things every day for the most part. And that's okay. They were real. A lot of times it was health. I was grateful for health, for my health, my children's health, my husband's health. So that was 3 things. On other days, our health might be one thing, and then I might identify a few other things. But it's about something that you can really feel grateful for. Another example, and I've shared this I think before, my husband traveled a lot, and so I was basically a single parent in terms of parenting. I had 2 incomes, so it wasn't literally like being a single parent, and it was challenging at times. And so I was never grateful that he was traveling, but every Sunday when he drove back up to Chicago, I would feel grateful that he got there safely. And I was able to feel that because what would happen if he didn't get there safely? So I wasn't crazy about the fact that he was gone for a week, 2.5 hours away, but I was grateful that he got there safely. And I could honor and acknowledge that it kind of sucked for him being gone. So I hope that that helps. 3 things every day. I encourage people to try to do it at the same time each day if possible. It just helps you really get in a habit. Some people like to do it in the morning, some people like to do it at night. I typically would do it at night, but lately I've actually been doing it more in the morning to kind of start my day. So you can play around with it. If you're feeling really ambitious, maybe 3 in the morning and 3 at night. And it's okay if it's the same thing over and over and over again. And it's okay if you don't get 3 things. It's okay if you write the same things every single day. Having enough food to eat, having shelter, having a dependable car. Like, there are a lot of things that we can easily overlook when it comes to a feeling of appreciation. So I'd love to hear from you. Share in the comments what this brought up for you and things that you're grateful for today. And of course, if you haven't subscribed, make sure to do so and click the little bell for notifications. And if you liked it, give it a thumbs up so other people can find it too. Have a beautiful day. See you next time.